Hello, hello, yup. I'm a play.
What is up, YouTube? Venthros here, coming at you for RPG Maker tutorial video number 10.
It's not me.
In
It's
today's video,
Petros.
we're going to
I
talk
really
about the
need to
database.
put up the
It's a topic that's been kind of
playlist.
coming up on a lot of the emails that I've been getting, that a lot of people want to know more
Mm,
about it, how to do certain things, and these things that a lot of people are asking about are all things that you can
I'm gonna
accomplish
put up
by
playlist.
using the database. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to open up the database. I'm going to start at the first tab and go all the way across. Hopefully this won't take forever. So the first tab, we kind of talked about this in tutorial video number 8. Actors are RPG Maker's way of separating playable characters from everybody else. So, by default you have 10 actors. You can add more. And before I say anything else, a lot of this stuff in the database that has a change maximum button. I also kind of talked about that a bit in other tutorial videos, but basically if you want to change the maximum number of actors, that's how you would do it. And each each number you increase it by adds a slot, an empty slot where you can add either a new actor. It's the same for classes and items and weapons and all that. So in the database, your change maximum button will be one that you hit frequently. So these are the actors here. I have Eric selected. And here's your general settings. That's all pretty self-explanatory. You can change the graphics. Like we were changing graphics in other videos. It's not anything too difficult. Here you can set the starting equipment. And this is an area that you can set different features. Me personally, I tend to leave features alone for characters. It'll come up again in the next tab, classes. But, maybe you have, I don't know, somebody that you want to have in your party that has a strong affinity towards fire, for example. I don't know why. Maybe they're from the desert or something. I mean, I don't know. But you could set features specific to a character here. I'll get more into features when we get to the classes tab. And then down here is a note. You can type whatever you want in the note. Anything that you want, really. That'll help you remember certain things about maybe a story or whatever. Another thing to keep in mind, and this actually applies to the entire program of RPG Maker, when you hover over something, I mean, the developer have done a great job with tooltips, which are these little windows that pop up. I don't know if they're popping up. I know when I use Cam Studio, sometimes the tooltips don't pop up in the output videos, but they're really helpful. And if you have any question, that's the thing you want to check first. Just hover over something, and the tooltip should help you out. So that's actors. Pretty self-explanatory, pretty straightforward. Next, we're going to go to classes. And the thing with the classes is, RPG Maker kind of gives you 10 to kind of go off of. And honestly, if you're just getting started, these 10 classes will cover just about all the bases you need. Like, I don't think you need to get all crazy and add, another 100 classes. Like you want to do a job system like in Final Fantasy Tactics or whatever. This will cover all the bases, but again, you can change the maximum to add more classes. General settings. Let me talk about the experience curve a little bit. It's a little confusing. Click the little dots here, and this will bring up the curve. Now, right now there's two tabs. We're on the to next level tab. So if you look here, you'll need 112 experience more. You know what I mean? It's not a total. That's what this is. So when you're level 1, you have 0 experience. When you're level 2, you'll have 50 experience, so forth and so on. And the curve changes based on these 4 sliders here: base value, extra value, acceleration A, acceleration B. The tooltips tell you what they do, but acceleration B usually just brings the curve up towards a higher level range, like it says on the tooltip. For now, I think for our purposes, for these tutorial videos, we can leave this alone, but feel free to experiment with it. When you increase the slider, you'll see that the curve to next level curve, basically the higher up in experience you are, the more and more experience points you'll need to gain a level. Like when you're a level 95, you need to gain 70,337 experience to get to the next level. And then you'll need another 70,956 to get to the next level, so forth and so on. So for now, I would probably just leave all this the way it is. Your parameter curves, these are the curves for each of the actor's parameters. So here's MHP, that means maximum hit points. If you click it, basically it's this particular parameter graph. It's a pretty even slope, right? And they have these different quick settings. So this is, the higher up in level you get, your maximum hit points go up and up and up. Maybe you would use quick setting D for, a weaker type character that doesn't have a lot of hit points. Some kind of mage-ish type character would probably have less hit points than a soldier type class. So there's a curve for each one of the parameters. Down here is where you can set skills. That's on the next tab. And then here's the features. So I'll double click. You double click like you would like adding an event command or anything like that. And these features apply to the soldier class. Use the tooltips to kind of help you out if you kind of get lost here. But, this particular feature that we're about to add, maybe the soldier has a propensity to resist the poison state. Okay, so in this case, it means it completely negates a state. So if I were to use this feature, then anyone that has a class of soldier would be immune to poison. And we'll go over here to these different parameters. Now the parameters are your maximum hit points, your attack, your defense. You can add or take away percentages. Your EX parameter affects hit rate, evasion. Just look at the tooltip there. When you hide over it, when you hover over it, magic evasion, magic reflection, and then your SP parameters are, recovery effect rate, physical damage rate, magical damage rate, so forth and so on. You can alter those for each class. So your attack, let's say you made a class called Fire Knight. So you could add a fire attack element to your attacks. And that's what all this is. You can add different states, speed, and number of times. It says attack times plus. So if you leave it at 1, you'll actually get 2 attacks. And if it's how many to add to 1 attack. So this is where you can add different skill types. Seal skill types, which means while you're that class, you can't use like black magic. You can add skill. You can specify specific skills to learn when you become a soldier. And same thing with specific skills. So these two are types of skills, and these two are specific skills. And like I said, we'll get to skills in the next tab. Equip. This is where you can set the kind of... and you can see here the features for soldier is equip weapon, axe, equip armor, general armor. It can equip light armor, heavy armor, and shields. And you could set all that with this tab. And other is action times plus, which means, 100%. Party ability, you can set encounter half. They have a couple here to choose from. I'm having some issues with my mouse. So, take a look at them, play around with the features. I think for the beginner, leaving the classes alone is probably a good idea, and just kind of using those until you get more confident and you can decide how to make your own class. Skills is pretty much, the theme is this is where all the data for the game lives. So right now the skill that's highlighted is attack. That's pretty much your most basic command in battle. You can name it. Here's a general settings, different icon. You can, attack is not a skill type. It's just a regular, everyone can do it. The scope, occasion, when you would change a skill to always is, let's say, a magic spell called heal or cure. You want to be able to use that in the battlefield as well as in your menu. Invocation, it's all pretty self-explanatory. A lot of the stuff in the database really is self-explanatory. You can set the different animations here, which we'll go over in the animations tab. Hit type. You can use, you can change the message here. So right now it says username attacks. Just play around with it. I don't want to spend a ton of time on each tab for the sake of time, but just want to give you an idea of what each thing does. Now, the damage, pretty much this box here defines how damage is calculated for the attack skill. So the type of damage is HP damage. You can set it to MP damage, recovery, and drain. Obviously, you know whether you would use recover or damage. The element for attack is normal attack, but you can set the skill here. So if you had like fire slash or something, you would make the element fire and so forth and so on. Now the formula, I don't know if you can see that big tooltip there, but it's a pretty good tooltip. It kind of defines how it is, but just to make it really easy, this A.attack, that means it takes the user's attack and multiplies it by 4 to calculate the damage. So whatever the attack power is of your character, it's going to multiply it times 4. It's going to also take DEF means the target's, the enemy's defense, and multiply it by 2. And then it's going to get the difference of the two. So if your attack is 2 and the enemy's defense is 2, then you would see that your attack would be 8 minus 4. You would get 4 points of damage, basically. And then the variance basically adds or subtracts up to 20%. So it's not exactly the same all the time. If you don't want to do the math yourself, you can do quick damage setting. These are the types of effects here. So let's say you had an attack called Poison Strike. You could add a poison state to the attack. And that's where you would add, change the effects here. And then there's another note box, excuse me. Let's move on to items. Same deal here with the items. You want to add more items, click change maximum. These are the general settings of the item. As you can see, you can name it, description. Item type is normal or key item. Scope is one ally. It can be all enemies or all allies, dead allies, whatever. And the occasion, again, just like skills, is when you can use this item, the potion. Well, potions you should be able to use all the time. Other items, like any item that damages enemies, obviously, you want to only use those during battles. And then a lot of this stuff is exactly the same as the skill. The damage right now is none, right? Because we are recovering hit points. And that's what the effects are here. So let's go to weapons. Now, RPG Maker gives you a ton of weapons, but in the event that you want to make more, change maximum. Here's your general settings. Here's the animation that it uses. And here are the parameter changes. So basically, the attack power of this axe is 15. So it adds 15 to your attack. Pretty self-explanatory. Here's the features. The attack element is physical. And this axe takes away from your speed and takes 10% away from your accuracy. Which, pretty standard for an axe, I guess. And then, I just click this Zephyrus Claw. And it has hit +4, which is accuracy. And it adds an attack. Because I assume you would have, one of these claws in each hand. So, when I first started playing around with RPG Maker, I just kind of would look at all the, I would just click on different weapons and take a look and see, the parameters and the features and things like that to kind of put it in context so you can figure out how to make your own. Weapons and armors aren't much different at all. Actually, the screen is exactly the same. Right now we have the casual clothes. It's general armor. The price is 100 gold. The equip type is body. Now, I just want to point these out. Armor type and equip type. Okay, so obviously general, you can have general armor, light armor. You can actually make as many armor types as you like. I'll show you how to do that later. Same with the equip type, right? By default, you get shield, head, accessory, and body. So, that's pretty standard stuff. You can change the graphic up here, and here's the features. On top of the defense it gives you, you can have additional features. Obviously, the casual clothes is not very powerful. The brigandine is a little more powerful. 20 times more powerful, actually, than the casual clothes. So just kind of, like I said, it made it really easy for me to just kind of look around and click different things in the armor and look at different ones. The mithril plate, has 24 defense, and there's the graphic for it. But maybe you want the dragon. Okay, so the dragon plate has an element rate of fire, so it basically enhances fire. So anyway, let's go to enemies, and I'm actually going to skip enemies and troops because we just went over that in the last on the last tutorial video. Here's states. Think of state as like a condition, like poison or silence. As you can see here, there's poison here and silence, confusion. These are all pretty self-explanatory. So an RPG Maker makes it really easy to define certain things. Like it already has a confusion kind of thing where you attack anyone. Just kind of play around with the general settings. Removal conditions, a lot of games remove all conditions at the end of the battle. Some don't. I think poison is going to stay by default. See, the remove a battle end is not checked. So, and then here's the different messages, battle messages when someone is poisoned or whatever. And then there's the features again and the note. So, nothing too crazy here with the states. Take a look at them. And then here's the animations. Okay, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on animations. You get 110 of them to use. So I would just kind of stay with that. There are ways that you can make your own animations. We'll cover them in later tutorials, but for now we're just going to kind of leave them as is. But, if you want to see the animation, see how it'll look, I'm going to hit play. And that's what that animation is going to look like. There's your slash. So we saw that the hand axe uses slash physical animation. So when you're making it, you can kind of what the animation is going to look like. Maybe for a very special weapon in the game, you would use a slash special. So just look at all the different animations. I don't think all of them are used by default, because they give you a couple different choices. Like a fire for one enemy could either be this one, could either be that one, or this one here. So I think you have the liberty to choose there. So let's move on to tile sets. We did the tile sets actually in tutorial video number 2 or 3, I believe. We actually imported a tile set from a different set to use in our dungeon. That might have actually been in tutorial about it, but basically, if you want to add a different tab to your field tile set, you could click here and add it through there. But the reason why I brought up why the tile set's important, let's go to the exterior tile set. So this is like anything outside that's not the world map. And you see all these X's and O's here. Right now, passage is kind of checked by default. So if, like right now, you can't walk through this wall here, but if you click it, you change it. X means you can't walk through it. O means you can walk through it. So that's how you can set different passability settings for your tiles. So this is passage for direction. You can change whether certain tiles you only want to be able to pass through to the left or from the left, and to take away, if there's an arrow, that means that you can walk through any direction. If an arrow is taken away, then you can't go that way. Pretty much is what that's all about. Ladders, you can click on it. So if you're using a ladder tile, let's see. There should be a ladder tile here in B, if I'm not terribly mistaken. Anyway, you'll find some tiles that you want to use ladders. Here's your bush. It'll actually show the character kind of walking through it. And here's the bush right here. So the bush indicator means that you can walk through it, and it'll show a special animation of just the head popping out. Counter, damage floor. I mean, these are pretty self-explanatory. And the tooltip, helps you out here as well. Common events. If you use the same event all the time, you can list it here in the common events, so that you can always reference it very easily. And we'll go over here to system. This is where basically a lot of the nitty-gritties of the game are going to be defined. So your initial party is Eric. You can add or take away people. The game title, you can change the currency unit to whatever you want. If you like Zen or Gil or want to make up your own, that's where you can change that. And excuse me. So these are the options that affect the game, and we talked about show player followers, but you know, you can set KO by floor, slip damage. If you walk over a bunch of spikes, you can set whether that can actually kill you or not, or just take you down to 1 hit point. Reserve members XP. That basically means that if you have more than 4 people in your, you have 4 people in your party, and you have other people like in a reserve that you can switch from, whether they get XP or not as well. So here's the different music for title screen, battle. This is basically the defaults. You can use events to change a lot of this stuff, during the game. So like right now, the battle is this stupid Battle 1 song. But obviously, if you were to have a boss encounter, you would make that an event, and you can change the battle song there in the event. You can change the window color, you can change the graphics for the boat, ship, and airship, and change the different sound effects here. Starting position is basically where you start the game. We'll actually be changing this quite a bit in future tutorials, especially when we get to like opening cutscenes and stuff. In order for an opening cutscene to take place, you have to use the starting position for a player to start on the screen that your cutscene is taking place. And down here is a title screen. You can change the graphics to whatever you like. That's always cool. Get some dragons, some gates, whatever. Boom. Change it however you like. And you can actually import all this stuff using the resource manager, which we'll talk about in a later video. Let's go to terms. Last tab. So this is where I said you could change the different, you can make your own elements, you can make your own weapon types, armor types, and skill types. By default, RPG Maker gives you special and magic. Obviously you hit change maximum, it gives you blank spots and make whatever other types of skills. So let's say instead of magic you wanted to have black magic and white magic, this is where you would change that. Okay, and then everything from the right, from this little space to the right, is basically just what you want to name everything. Maybe you don't want to call fight. Maybe you want to call it attack, or maybe you want to call it something else. Maybe instead of escape, you want to call it run. This is where you would change all that stuff. Game end, maybe you could call that game over or whatever. So forth and so on. It's all pretty self-explanatory. I can't even talk correctly. And that is pretty much the database. I just wanted to spend a couple minutes talking about it and just kind of glossing over a lot of it, because when you're making your game, you will spend a lot of time here. If you're making all your own actors, for example, from scratch, you're gonna have to, spend some time here. And you say, okay, I want to make a character that's a samurai. Well, luckily there's a samurai class, but let's say you wanted to make, a character based on a vision that you have. You'll probably have to change the actor or add a new actor. You'll probably have to add a new class, maybe some skills, and it all starts to kind of build from there. And databasing, or DBing, which is what a lot of people call it, it's very time consuming and it's very meticulous. But using the database effectively is what helps separate a good game from a great game, or a bad game from a good game. So I hope this tutorial was pretty helpful. This was not meant to be an in-depth, nuts and bolts of every single part of this database, but I did want to go over it a little bit so you'd have, get some familiarity with it. And just like I said before, if you're kind of stuck or you want to know what something does, just hover over it, and RPG Maker provides you with very helpful tooltips that'll pop up and tell you what everything does. So that's it. That's it for this week. I appreciate all the comments and stuff that I've been getting lately. Mostly emails is what I receive a lot of. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to see in future videos. I've been answering some questions that I've been getting in the comments, as best I can. But if the next week we're gonna pick up on our journey with the tutorial quest. We're gonna get into adding some more elements to our tutorial game. So if you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends. I mean, it's seriously, your support is what's driving this machine, and I'm getting a lot of support, so I really appreciate it. And until next week, I'm Venthros, and I'll see you then. What is up, YouTube? Venthros here, coming back at you for tutorial video number 10 for RPG Maker. What are we going to do today? Today we are going to create a very simple intro cutscene. So just imagine you're starting a new game. Most new games have a cutscene that takes place. This is going to be a very watered down, a very simple one. But using the techniques I'm about to show you, you'll be able to make it whatever you want. So let's go ahead and get started with that. The first thing you'll notice that I have a blank map up here. So if you want to create a new map, just right click the project, create a new map, use all of the defaults, default size, and name it like intro cutscene or intro cut like I have, whatever you want, and just leave everything else alone. That's the first thing we want to do. The next thing we want to do a few things in the database, okay? The first thing that we want to do in the database is we want to reassign the starting position of our main actor. If you've been following along, you will know that our actor by default will pop up on the field map right here. That is where this is where we put them in the database. You can reassign this, and we want to reassign it to this new intro cutscene map. Okay, so you do that by going to the database, oh my god, sorry about that, going over here to System, and right here is going to be the starting positions. Alright, player number 1 is our playable character. Go ahead and click the dots, and you will see the list of maps. Go over here to intro cut, and I'm going to put them right down here. So just double click wherever you want them, and that's good for the starting position. The next thing you want to do is you want to set transparency to on. You don't want to see the actual playable character while the cutscene is playing. So we're going to go up here to options and check the transparent on checkbox. Cool, and that's all we have to do for the database for this cutscene. So now you'll see our number 1 actor, who you will remember is Eric, is down here on this map, and that's where he'll start. If we were to start this right now, if we were to test it, you would see a blank screen. The blue screen here would be totally black, and you wouldn't see him, okay? So far, pretty easy. What we're going to do for this intro cutscene is we're just going to have a man standing in the center of a black screen, and he just says a few things, and he's going to ask you for your name, and I'll show you how to do the name processing. Pretty standard cutscene. I mean, obviously you can build off of this and go wherever you want, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to keep it really simple. So let's create a new event. Right here, that's about the center of the screen, maybe here, I don't know. We'll go here, double click. We will call this intro. Choose a graphic. I'm going to use the spiritual set of graphics, and I'm going to use this old man looking guy right here. It's probably some kind of godlike character, I don't know. Okay, we want the trigger to be auto run. Okay, as soon as we start this new game, we want this event to start. Okay, as soon as got this old man looking guy right here. It's probably some kind of godlike character, I don't know. Okay, we want the trigger to be auto run. Okay, as soon as we start this new game, we want this event to start. Okay, so next thing we want to do is start building the actual commands. Actually, let me turn off the walking animation. Sorry about that. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is play some music. Feel free to kind of play whatever you want. I already have a song that I want to use. I'm going to use Dungeon 2. And that's the song we're going to use for that. Now that we have the music playing, we're going to use something that we haven't used yet in any of the other previous tutorial videos. We're going to use the wait command. So go to the second page of your event commands, hit wait. Okay, so basically what's going on here is every 60 frames is 1 second, if that makes sense. So we're going to set this to 120 seconds, so it waits 2 seconds before our first text event. Right? So you can make them say whatever you want, but for the purpose of this tutorial, we're just going to have them ask for the player's name. So go to the first page, show text. We'll use the spiritual graphic for this guy right here. And tell me your name. So after we do the text event, we're going to do a name processing event. Okay? You know, this is a pretty standard RPG kind of feature where you get to name your own characters. So go to the third page and go to Name Input Processing. It's going to ask you whose name do you want to change. And since we're using Actor 1, Eric, this is the person that we want to change. And feel free to, you can leave the max character 6. I like to do 8. I don't know, it's just me, but make it whatever you want. Hit OK. Now a window is going to pop up asking for the player to rename the character. A window, you can name your name. So after we do the text event, we're going to do a name processing event. Okay? You know, this is a pretty standard RPG kind of feature where you get to name your own characters. So go to the third page and go to Name Input Processing. It's going to ask you whose name do you want to change. And since we're using Actor 1, Eric, this is the person that we want to change. And feel free to, you can leave the max character 6. I like to do 8. I don't know, it's just me, but make it whatever you want. Hit OK. Now a window is going to pop up asking for the player to rename the character. So now after we do that, we're going to wait for another second. So we're going to throw in another wait command. Second page. We'll wait for 1 second this time. And now I'll show you something cool you can do with the show text command. We're going to have him use the player's name. And since we don't know in advance what the player is going to name their character, there's a command that you can type in the text box. And if you actually hover over the text box, this huge tooltip will pop up, and it will tell you how to name certain things. Change the color of certain text. You know, some games use town names and important things that people say. They change the colors, so forth and so on. We are going to use the name command, and you're going to use a backslash, which is right above your enter key, not the forward slash. Okay, that you would normally type in for websites and stuff. Backslash. We're going to use a capital N, and then we are going to start a bracket, and you put the actor number inside the bracket. So in this case, we're using Actor 1, which is Eric, or whatever the player renames him to. So that's the command. Backslash N, some brackets with a 1 inside. Obviously, if you're using character 2, make it a 2, so forth and so on. So it's going to say that. Then we'll say you are the chosen one. I don't know, whatever you want. The content of the text really doesn't matter. It's just getting you in the habit of doing it and knowing how to implement these things. So now that we have all of this done, we're ready to leave this cutscene. Okay, we're going to end this cutscene, and for the purpose of this tutorial, to save time, we are just going to transfer the player back to the field map where he was before we made this cutscene. Normally, for a cutscene like this, maybe somebody will wake up in bed or something like that. You can do that. I'm just going to show you how to move the scene to a different place, and then you can, do with it whatever you want. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to transfer the character back to the field. Okay, so transfer player under page 2. We're going to do a direct designation. Click the dots and you're going to get this screen again. And we'll do the field. We'll put him right there. So when the cutscene ends, he's going to pop up there on the field. We're going to do facing down and hit OK. So that'll take care of that. And as you recall, the player has been transparent this whole time, so we need to turn the transparency off, and you do that with another event command, which is under the second page under character, and we want to turn transparency off. So now the character will be standing in the field map like before. And now all we have to do is end this event. And in this case, we are going to use a self switch. So go to page 1, control self switch. We're going to turn on self switch A. And this, you should know this by now. We're going to create a new event page. We're going to use the condition. You should know this by now. We're going to create a new event page. We're going to use the condition that self switch A is on, and that is it. Our cutscene is finished. Let's test it out. So there he is. Tell me your name. Now the name screen pops up. We'll name him Bob. Hit OK. He's going to say, Bob, you're the chosen one, just like we wanted him to. And then, bam, we're at the field map like before. So just use that as a way to start your game. And, feel free to experiment and play around with it. Keep in mind, like in the last, in Tutorial 7 when we did the other cutscene, if you want to include any movement, then you're going to have to do 2 separate events in your cutscene. You're going to have the event for the character that's talking, and then another event that controls the movement. Easy enough. So, hopefully, you have a better understanding of how to implement a very simple cutscene. It's not that hard. If I can do it, you can do it. I want to thank you guys again for your support. I'm actually excited to announce that I'm going to start expanding the channel to not only include RPG Maker VXA's tutorials, but I'm also going to include some, I'm really into retro gaming, so I might include some videos like that. And I'm also working on a website where all the tutorials that I'm doing here on YouTube, I'll be able to have them on a website so you can follow it step by step with text and things like that. So I'm really excited about both of those things. If you actually need a copy of RPG Maker VXA, so, if you're watching these videos, I assume you have it. But if you need a copy of it, go ahead and click the link in the description and go ahead and get yourself a copy. I highly recommend it. And that's really all I have for you today. So until next week, I'm Venthros. Keep an eye on future videos, not just about this, but about other retro video game related topics as well. And I'll see you next week. What is up, everybody? Venthros here, coming at you. And I just want to go over something really quick and fast. We're going to keep this week's video pretty short because I got another video I want to shoot and put on the channel. This is actually a request from a YouTuber by the name of Eric Pia. YouTube name Eric Pia, or it might be his Google Plus name. What is up, YouTube? Venthros. What is up, everybody? Venthros here, coming at you. And I just want to go over something really quick and fast. We're going to keep this week's video pretty short because I got another video I want to shoot and put on the channel. This is actually a request from a YouTuber by the name of Eric Pia. YouTube name Eric Pia, or it might be his Google Plus name. Eric Pia wants to know how we can import our own songs. And that's a good question, and something we can do very quickly. So go ahead and open your project. You can import pretty much any kind of MP3 file. We're not going to get into OGG file types in this video, but we will cover it in a later video in depth. That's a little more in depth, and that's how you can get songs that loop at certain points. But I'll just show you for right now how to import a song. Open up your resource manager up here, and these are all the different categories of resources that you can choose from. For now, we're going to go to Audio BGM, which stands for Background Music. As you can see, these are all the different files, and these are all the different songs that are available to us off the bat. So I'm going to click Import, and it's going to default to my music folder, and I have a song that actually I made, so my YouTube channel doesn't get shut down for copyright infringement. And I'm going to go ahead and import this Extreme 2 song. It gives it a second to think, and you can see it up here in the red. Okay, that's how you know it's your file that you uploaded or imported, excuse me, yourself. Everything in the blue is the standard RPG Maker stuff that came with the game. As you can see, if I click Battle 5, it'll let me export it, but it won't let me delete it. And if I click on Extreme 2, which is the song that I imported, I can delete it because it's not part of RPG Maker's default stuff. So, just to make sure everything is good, we're going to go to the sound test, and we have the BGM tab selected, and you can see Extreme 2 is number 1 on the list. And I'll play it for you real fast just to show you. I'm not trying to plug my own music, but I just wanted to show you that. And you can even the Extreme 2 is an MP3 file, and the pitch works even with MP3s. So I'll put the pitch up a little bit. And really all it does is speed up or slow down a track, basically. So if I bring the pitch all the way down here, so you get the idea, and that's pretty much it. How you import your own music. We'll go back up here to the resource manager real fast. And the same process pretty much applies for any of this stuff. Just use the resource manager. If you you can Google RPG Maker VX Ace resources to your heart's content and find, let's say you find a tile set or a character that you want, just go to the specific category, hit import, go to the location where the file is located, and you're all set. And that's really it for this video. I told you it was going to be fast. Just keep it tuned here for next week's RPG Maker tutorial video, and thanks for watching. I'm Venthros. See you next time. What is up, YouTube? Venthros here again, coming at you with the 12th RPG Maker tutorial video, and today we are going to talk about a class selection screen in our intro cutscene that we already made 2 videos ago. This topic was requested by Turbo Thunder Gaming, a YouTuber. Asked me, how do you select a class in the beginning of the game? And I figured I would be able to integrate that pretty seamlessly with the intro cutscene that we've already made. So, if you're just joining us, you don't have this intro cutscene already made from past tutorial videos, I suggest you go back and watch tutorial 10, or just create a new event and make it look similar to the one we're going to make today. So, I'm going to go ahead. This is our intro cutscene area, and this old man here is the guy who's talking to us, so I'm going to open that event now. And we're going to... now, let me just tell you something about it. A class selection screen. It seems pretty basic, and it is, but there's more than one way to do it. In fact, there's quite a few that I'm aware of. I think the easiest way to accomplish it is to use just the show choices. You get up to 4 different choices, and that's that. The problem with that is some people say, hey, I want to have... I want the character to be able to choose between 7, 10, 15 classes. So there's a couple ways to accomplish that. I think the easiest way for me is to use a loop. And I'm going to introduce you guys to loops today when we make this class selection screen. So, if you look at this event here, so far we're kind of inserting the loop where this gentleman says, you are the chosen one. We are going to make a text event, transparent on the top. It's going to be like a system message that's instructing the player to select a class. Choose more for more options. Choose or hit the back button to return to previous. Alright, it doesn't have to be fancy. It's just something to instruct the player how to navigate the screen. And now we're going to insert our loop. So go to the first page of your event commands, click on loop, and basically what a loop is, I mean, it sounds pretty simple, but basically everything that we are going to put in between loop and a repeat above, everything that goes in between these two lines is going to keep repeating. Unless we do something that breaks the loop. And we'll get to that later. But for now, in the middle line here, double click and we are going to show choices. The very first thing I want you to do is to click disallow. We don't want the cancel button used because the player has to select a class to move on. So I'm just going to put in the first couple classes here, monk, paladin, and more. Now, here's what we're going to do first. I'm going to start with paladin. You can start however you want to, but I'm going to start with paladin. So, when we select, here's what we're going to do first. Put in everything that we are going to, just something to instruct the players how to. So go to the first page of your event command. Now we're going to insert our loop. So go to the first page of your event commands, click on loop, and basically what a loop is. I mean, it sounds pretty simple. But basically, everything that we are going to put in between loop and a repeat above, everything that goes in between these two lines is going to keep repeating. Unless we do something that breaks the loop. And we'll get to that later. But for now, in the middle line here, double click and we are going to show choices. The very first thing I want you to do is to click disallow. We don't want the cancel button used because the player has to select a class to move on. So I'm just going to put in the first couple classes here: monk, paladin, and more. Now, here's what we're going to do first. I'm going to start with paladin. You can start however you want to, but I'm going to start with paladin. So, when we select paladin, first thing we want to do is change class. It's on the first page. And we're still using Eric, so we want to change him to a paladin. Now, by default, he's a soldier. Okay? So just keep that in mind for right now. So now he's a paladin. And before we break this loop, I'm not going to do this with all of the choices here because I want to save time. But you're probably going to want to adjust Eric's starting equipment because he's a soldier. He uses axes. When you make him a paladin, we have to take away his axe because he starts off with an axe. We want to take his axe away and give him a spear, which is what paladins use. So we can do that pretty easily. Now, soldiers and paladins start out with the same shield and the same armor, so we're not really concerned with that. But you might want to write down what you want every class to start with. That way when you change the class, you can change the starting equipment accordingly. So, we've done the change weapons already. It's on the first page. We're going to decrease hand axe by 1 and include equipment because it's his starting equipment. So we got rid of the axe. We want to change weapons again. And we want it to be the spear. And we want to increase that by 1. Now we have to break the loop. So go down here, first page again, hit break loop, and that will break the loop here. Pretty easy. So we want to do the same thing. We're just not going to mess with the equipment. We're going to change class to soldier and break the loop. Change class to monk, and then break the loop again. Now, we want to leave what happens when you select more blank. So basically what will happen is when the player selects more, the loop is going to continue. Since we didn't choose any of these three, we wanted to see what the other options are. So in order to continue the loop, we're going to go down here to branch end, the line right under it. We're going to make another show choices command. Now this time we want the when canceled to be branch. I'll explain that in a minute. And we want to add in the next 4. For me, this is it. I think having any more than 7 classes to start with is a bit much. You can apply this technique. You can keep going with it. If you want to add more, just make your choice for more. And then add another show choices command with more and more classes. But we're going to stop here. So I'm just going to add 4 more classes: Archer, Samurai, Thief, and Spellblade. And we're going to do the same thing here. So just keep in mind, again, you will have to change the starting equipment for each one of these classes so that your character has a weapon to use to start the game. So I'm going to just speed through this here. Make sure you're using the break loop after all of your class changes, because if you don't, the loop is going to keep going and you're not going to be able to escape the menu screen unless you pick another choice. which is, you know, what you don't want. Spellblade, and then that's the last break loop. That's the last selection we had. So when cancel, when you hit the cancel button at this point, it's going to take you back to the beginning of the loop, which was the first 3 choices. So our loop is finished. I mean, that's pretty much it. It's not all that complicated. It's just, it might take you a little bit of time to get used to the logic of a loop, but once you see it in action, you'll understand it very quickly. So our loop is done. So now we're going to do a show text from the old man, and he's just going to say something, you know, I'm just going to put something generic in here for right now. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. I mean, make it whatever you want. Now at this point, we're going to transfer the player to the field. So just like we've done before, I want him to, the direction to be down. The fade normal is okay. So we've done that. And we want to change the transparency to off. Because right now, the way the cutscene is, you can't see the player. We want to be able to see the player once we get to the field. And then the last thing we want to do, go back to page 1, is control self switch. We want to turn self switch A on. And if you recall, we already, and we want to change the transparency to off. Because right now, the way the cutscene is, you can't see the player. We want to be able to see the player once we get to the field. And then the last thing we want to do, go back to page 1, is control self switch. We want to turn self switch A on. And if you recall, we already created a new event page with the condition that self switch A is on and left everything else blank. This way the event ends. With the we want to turn self switch A, go back to page 1, field, and then the last thing we want to do, and we want to change the transparency to off. Because right now, the way the cutscene is, you can't see the player. We want to be able to see the player once we get to the field. And then the last thing we want to do, go back to page 1, is control self switch. We want to turn self switch A on. And if you recall, we already created a new event page with the condition that self switch A is on and left everything else blank. This way the event ends. Okay, so if you're making this event from scratch, go ahead and create a new event page so that you're on the 2 tab. Check self switch and make sure it's A, and then leave everything else alone. Hit OK, and our cutscene's done. Let's check it out. Alright, we're having some kind of issue here. There we go. Sorry about that little hiccup there. So we're going to leave the name the same. Here, the chosen one. Here's our directions up top. So that's pretty self-explanatory, so that's working. Here's our menu, Soldier, Monk, Paladin. We'll hit more. Takes us to the second page that we created. And then if we hit the back button, it takes us back to the first menu choices. Now, we are going to select Paladin. There's this generic go forth message. And there we are. I'm going to open the menu. You can see that Eric is a Paladin. And we're going to check his equipment. We're going to optimize it. And now the spear, he can equip it because he's a Paladin. And there we go. And now the spear, he can equip it because he's a Paladin. And there we go. What is up, YouTube? Venthros coming back at you with another long-awaited RPG Maker tutorial. Today, we're going to talk about variables. This is going to be a very simple tutorial to help you get a grasp on variables. So, a lot of people have actually been messaging me, asking me about variables, or asking me when I was going to cover variables, or telling me about variables. Let me try to explain a little bit of what a variable is. Think of a variable as like a container, and in that container you can put whatever you want inside.
Apa tuh bang?
A variable is not actually that much different than a switch.
Aduh gitu sih Dan.
Baru bangun.
Kok bisa baru bangun?
Lo nggak tahu, enak banget buat tidur aja nggak panas.
A switch, you can turn it on or turn it off, and that's it. A variable can have any kind of values. So think of it as a container.
Kok itu
That's
berubah namanya
the
jadi
easiest
tester
way I
MBG
thought
aja?
of variables when I first started doing this, way back in RPG Maker XP.
Udah lama banget nggak
Right.
ngomong sama Edo.
So what I have here for you is I have 5 treasure chests.
Dia kayaknya beneran jadi
We're going to
MBG dah.
do a type of fetch quest. We're going to put an
terakhir
event
gua lihat
here
ya,
with an
anjir,
old man.
Aku MBG banget orangnya.
Aku MBG banget orang.
He's going to ask for 5 potions.
Aku MBG gitu dia.
We're going to create a variable
Bahwa
called
dirinya adalah MBG. Yang MBG-nya gitu loh, Din.
Aku MBG, kamu kopdes ya.
potions, and when we have 5 of them, something will happen. Basically, is the
Dia
gist.
udah dirilis, udah rilis.
So I've already created the 5 treasure chests that contain the potions to save time.
Apa ente?
So let's go ahead and create a new event.
Iya.
For this
Okay.
event, I'm going to use a graphic.
Semoga kuatin.
Semoga
I'm just going to
kuat,
use
Dan.
an old man. Seems pretty reasonable that he would want potions, I guess. I don't know.
Gue buat pair.
So the first thing we want is like a show text that says,
Babi.
please bring me 5
Bear.
potions. For the sake of time, he's going to say, give me 5 potions. I can't type today. That's it. We'll leave it at that. Give me 5 potions, and once we've talked to this guy, we'll turn on a self switch,
Aiden.
Apa?
Ya, itu.
and we'll create a new event page. Self
Gue
switch
lawan, habis
A
itu
is
gue
on
tinggal berak dulu anjing.
is the condition for this page.
Ya Allah,
Now,
harus verify dulu.
this is where we're going to define the variable, okay? And I'll show you that. So let's create a new command. Right
Itulah
under
tes
control
tuh.
switches, there's control variables. Click that.
Oh iya, ada kode-kodenya. Mana
Kode apa?
Kodenya. Kode redeem. Kode gitu, Din. Kode Jav.
When I first started doing this, way back in RPG Maker XP. Alright. So, what I have here for you is I have 5 treasure chests. We're going to do a type of fetch quest. We're going to put an event here with an old man. He's going to ask for 5 potions.
Kayaknya gamenya kayak
And
Chat nggak sih?
we're going to create a variable
Oh.
called
Better,
potions. And when we have 5 of them, something
Itu
will
agak
happen.
mirip
Basically,
kayak
is
ini,
the gist.
kayak
So I've already
Kayak-
created the 5 treasure chests that contain the
Kayak-
potions to save time. So let's go ahead and create a new event.
ya, ada ini, ada Jockey Enfield, Din.
For this event, I'm going to use a graphic.
Mana
I'm
cash
just
yang
gonna
kau
use an old
janjikan itu
man.
Den?
Seems pretty
Gue lagi
reasonable that he would
main
want
MTR.
potions, I guess. I don't know.
Oh,
So
nih.
the first thing we want is
So,
like a show
third-party
text that
software is
says,
inverting with Roblox.
please bring me 5
anjing.
potions. For the sake of time, he's going to say, give me 5 potions. I can't type today.
Gue mau berak dulu yuk.
And that's it.
Din
Leave
nggak
it
streaming
at that.
Din?
Ini lagi.
Give me 5 potions. And once we've
Oh,
talked to
ada
this
di
guy,
YouTube.
we'll turn on a self switch. And we'll create a new
Size. Sorry. Channel lu kok gak ada Din?
Apa?
And that's it. We'll leave it at that. Give me 5 potions, and once we've talked to this guy, we'll turn on a self switch, and we'll create a new event page. And we'll create a new event page. Self switch A is on, is the condition for this page. Now, this is where we're going to define the variable, okay? And I'll show you that. So let's create a new command. Right under control switches, there's control variables. Click that. You can see that I've already created a variable that's named potions, but I'll click here. And this is just like creating a switch. The screen, I mean, is the same. We're going to use switch 1, or variable 1, which is I already named potions. We're going to use just like create switches, and I'll show you that. So let's create a new command. Right under control switches, there's control variables. Click that. You can see that I've already created a variable that's named potions, but I'll click here. And this is just like creating a switch. The screen, I mean, is the same. We're going to use switch 1, or variable 1, which is I already named potions. And this alone doesn't mean anything. This up here, all that means is that we have a variable that's called potions. It doesn't have anything to do with the item yet. Okay? And for right now, we're going to set it. The operation is set, and that's the only one we're going to mess with today. This is a very simple variable tutorial. And we're going to use game data. Okay? And by default, it says map ID. Click over here. And we want items. So click the item, and we'll see potion in inventory. So hit OK. And that's it. Now, we've defined a variable. So hit OK. We'll see potion in inventory items. And by default, it says map ID. Click over here. And we want items. So click the item, and we'll see potion in inventory. So hit OK. And that's it. Now, we've defined a variable called potions, and it's looking for potions in inventory. And it will constantly store that data in this variable. So if by default you have 5, you have 5 potions in your inventory, then when the game starts right now, this variable's value will be 5. Right now we don't have any potions, so the value right now is 0. So hit OK, and that pretty much is defining the variable for the purpose of this event. Okay. So now, he's already asked you to bring him 5 potions, and we need to be able to have a couple different options to handle the different cases of whether you have 5 potions or not when we talk to this guy. So we're going to use a conditional branch first, and we're actually going to nest. We're going to nest 3 conditional branches. I might not have covered nesting, but pretty much it's putting a conditional branch within another conditional branch. So let's go ahead and get a conditional branch going. And what we want, before I click that, what we want is, we want the old man to be able to know how many potions you have in your inventory. And if you talk to him with 0 potions, we want him to say, you don't have any potions. Okay? If you have exactly 1 potion, we want him to say, you have 1 potion. And then if we have less than 5 potions, but greater than 0 potions, we want him to say, you have however many potions are in your inventory. Does that make sense? So that's why we're going to nest 3 conditional branches. And if none of those are true, then that means you have 5 or more. Then he's going to say thank you. He's going to take the potions. He's going to give you some gold. And that's it. So how do we accomplish that with event commands? Well, the first conditional branch is that the variable potions, since it's the first one, is equal to 0. Okay, and this is the default anyway, so that's fine for us. If the potions are exactly 0, we want him to say something like,
Bisa di skip
you don't have any potions.
Iya anjing, bagus banget.
You know, it kind of polishes it up instead of saying, you have 0 potions. Which, you know, that's what we don't want. So, that's all we have. If the potions are equal to 0, he'll do this. Otherwise, we're going to do another branch. We're going to say, okay, if you have 0, we want you to say that. But what if you have exactly 1? Well, we're going to do that. So, make sure you're clicking...
Gitu.
Kind of polishes it up instead of saying, you have 0 potions. Which, you know, that's what we don't want. So, that's all we have. If the potions are equal to 0, he'll do this.
Don't look back in
Otherwise,
anger.
we're going to do another branch. We're going to say, okay, if you have 0, we want you to say that. But what if you have exactly 1? Well, we're going to do that. So, make sure you're clicking right under the else. Okay, we're still in this conditional branch. So, click that. Let's do another conditional branch. Same variable. And we want the potions to equal 1. Equal to 1. So now we're saying you have exactly 1 potion. So he'll say, you have a potion. That's fine. This way we're making the distinction that you have exactly 1 instead of saying you have 1 potions, which happens a lot in some games because they don't take the time to polish up their branches. Okay? So, now what we want is another conditional branch. Alright? So, under this else, let's set up another conditional branch. The variable potions, we want it to be less than 5. Let's set up another conditional branch. The variable potions, we want it to be less than 5. So click the little drop down, click less than, the constant is 5. Now we want him to say you have however many potions. And in this case, it'll only be 2, 3, or 4 potions. So show text. Show this guy again.
Ya,
Now,
Allah,
if you hover over
dingin.
this, like I did in other tutorials, it gives you a list of different operations. And the very first one, it says replace by the value of the nth variable. And you do that command by typing \V and then put 001 for potions. Since potions is our first variable, we're going to put so basically it'll look like this. You have \V bracket 001, which is the ID of our first variable. You have whatever number of potions. And this is our last conditional branch. So basically, at the end of all this, if none of these other things are true, then that means you have 5 or more potions. So, we'll do show text. You have whatever number of potions. And this is our last conditional branch. So basically, at the end of all this, if none of these other things are true, then that means you have 5 or more potions. So, we'll do show text
Din,
Apa?
with him
lu nggak ada
thanking
suaranya,
you.
Din.
Kenapa?
Lu nggak ada suaranya?
Suara apa? Mau ngapain?
Suara kodok. Ya dijelasin gitu loh. Gimana
Kan
sih lu kan
ini gue lagi sambil detail tutorialnya. Emang gak kedengeran tutorialnya?
lu banget anjir lu, Din.
Kan gue sambil
Anjing.
detail tutorialnya ini, Den. Gue kan ngikutin.
Profusely.
Main
Thank you
tutorial. Aing gue skip aja lah.
very much. Take. We'll do show text with him thanking you profusely. Thank you very much. Take this as a token of my appreciation. Sorry, I didn't mean to sing that to you. Alright, so he's thanking us. He's that to you. Appreciation.
Lu nggak mau jadi kucing apa, Din? Min. Ya.
Sorry, I didn't mean to sing that to you. Alright, so he's thanking us. He's going to, well, first we'll do a change items command where we decrease potions by 5. Then we want to change gold. We'll get 500 gold. Then we'll want like a system text message that says, I'm sorry about that. You give the old
Kata
man
sumimasen.
500 gold pieces. That's a pretty hefty bounty for 5 potions.
Oh, grafiknya bagus banget anjir, Din. Gila anjir nih game yuk. Bikin VG gue panas. Baru level 1 nying.
Gold pieces. That's a pretty hefty bounty for 5
Enter your name, Ayase.
Yes.
potions. Alright, so all that is good, and now we're going to set our self. We're going to make we're going to call another self switch. We've already used A, so let's use B. And that's it. That's it for this page of the event. So just to kind of reiterate, our first part of the conditional branch is if you have exactly 0, he'll say you don't have any other potions. Or else, we're going to check these other things. If you have 1 potion, he'll say you have a potion. Or else we're going to check and see if you have less than 5. If you have less than 5, he'll say you have however many. But if you don't have less than 5, then that means you have 5 or more. In which case, he'll say thank you very much. He'll give you the loot. You'll give him the 5 potions. And that's it. So now that we have the controls, we're setting the self-switch on so that we can create a new page. Oh my gosh.
Ini menurut gue kalau
I forgot to set a graphic.
misal
I'm sure
apa
somebody
rame di
there
Indonesia bakal
had
ditambahin bahasa
noticed that.
Indonesianya.
Good
Apa?
thing I caught it.
Kalau apa?
Kalau rame di Indonesia
Apaan?
bakal
Bakal apa?
bakal ditambahin bahasa Indonesia.
Bukannya udah ada? Emang belum ada? Belum ada bahasa Indonesia dan emang belum ada.
Nggak support bahasa Indonesia.
So we're
Soalnya
going to create a new
Indonesia
event page.
dipimpin Prabowo jadi malas.
And basically,
Prabowo lagi di sini, Din, jangan, Din.
when self-switch B is on, that's when this page will come up, and we'll just have him say thanks again. Nothing too crazy. And that's it. And we do this to prevent him from asking us to get him 5 potions again. And
Mana rumah yang kau janjikan itu, Wo? Aduh, Wo.
completely restarting the event each time. So, first page, he says, give me 5 potions. Second page, we went through all this. Third page, thanks again. And that should be it for our event. Let's test it out.
Ini apa? Din, ada hantunya, Din. Lu jangan main game ini, Din. Nanti lu terkencing-kencing karena
Terkencing-kencing. Ih, takutnya.
Alright, we're gonna walk up to this dude. Give me 5 potions. We'll talk to him again. He says you don't have any potions. Let's grab 1 to make sure that part of the conditional branch is working. He says you have a potion. That's exactly what we want. We'll grab another potion to make sure that our...
Nah, hilang.
Okay, so he says you have 2 potions. And remember, we use the command, the \V, and then the number of the variable. So if we get 3 potions, it'll say 3 and 4 and so forth and so on. But let's just get the rest of these guys together. I'm using my keyboard to control this, so it's a little hokey. So now that he knows that we have 5 potions, thank you very much. Boom.
Gitu.
And now we're going to talk to him again, and that's all he'll say. Thanks again, thanks again, thanks again. And that's it. This is a very simple introduction to variables. Feel free to play around with it and tweak it, but that's the basic gist of it. You have to define the variable in the event page, and then you just have to figure out what you want to happen when the value of that variable is a certain amount. So, that's it for today. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, go ahead and hit that like button, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Ure. Udah berapa jam sih gua?
Lu nggak main anjing. Lu nggak main game ini, Din.
Apa? Nggak mau ah, Mas.
Udah malasan banget apa-apanya.
Iya. Kan
Din, tolong Din. Tolong saya Pak Jokowi.
Tolong saya.
Kenapa sih orang-orang pada demen banget ini pakai bos? Apa pakai monster tong sampah anjing? Jago banget gue ini anjing Din. Din, lawan bos tiba-tiba anjing. Lah, kok nggak bisa?
Udah deh. Udah. Udah.
Au.
Yes, gotta beda. Udah. Udah sejam setengah. Sudah, dadah.
Just like animal.
Animal likes animal. Oh, baby, I'm going to you tonight.
Hilang jing. Pokok dayo. Mati lu goblok. Kalau bangun jam segini tuh pasti apa Din? Banyak nyamuk Din.